Lab Chat.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Lab Chat, coming to you from the LEA Theatre in Second Life. I'm Jo Yardley.
And I'm Saffia Widdershins, and we're here today to put your questions to the CEO of Linden Lab, Ebbe Linden, the company behind Second Life and the new Sansar project.
Hello,
and
everybody.
Ebbe joins us here today.
Yes,
Welcome
it's great
to the show,
to be
Ebbe.
here. It's really great to be here. Here, we got over 150 people present here, so which is really great, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys for a while.
Yeah, it's kind of a full house, which is always nice to see. Ladies and gentlemen, the questions that we're going to ask today have been asked by the public, by you, on the forum of the Second Life website. We invited those who asked questions to join us here on the show so that they could ask them themselves and, perhaps have a bit of a chat and respond to the answers of the questions. But unfortunately, none of them were available to appear here live, not wanting to chat with their voice or something like that. But we hope that some of you will be willing to actually ask their questions themselves in other episodes.
Now, there were 46 questions asked in the forum that were set up for the show. Sadly, we'll only have time to show on the show for a fraction of these. So we're talking to the lab about ways in which some of the other questions could be answered. And we're going to be abbreviating the questions we asked today to cut to the core. You can read the full questions on the forums.
The questions have been selected by the whole Lab Chat team. And if during the show you have some of your own questions, type them in chat, and who knows, we've got some time at the end to ask them for you. But at the moment, we're going to start with the questions from the forums, and they're concerning Second Life. I do apologize. The first question comes from Daniel Regenbogen, or I don't know how you pronounce it, and it concerns the costs of land in Second Life. Linden Lab has recently taken steps on this by lowering the costs of buying and transferring land. But Daniel also wants to ask whether there's any chance for a change in the private region's land portfolio. He says that he has homestead customers who plead for some more prims, but the step to a full region is just too steep. He suggests a portfolio of full, half and quarter regions at a price tag of $250, $125 or $65. It should be possible and even profitable because of higher demand and actually adding more regions instead of losing them. Or the smaller and almost cost-neutral way, at least add a few more prims to the existing land products. 20,000 for a full region and 5,000 for a homestead would go a long way already. Ebbe, would that be possible?
Well, we do spend quite a bit of time looking at land pricing and capacity of land as well. And I've stated several times before that I do believe that land is too expensive. And so with Project Sansar, we've stated that we want land to be a lot cheaper. The tricky part is that making land cheaper, we will have to make up that money in other ways, which is not a trivial thing to do in Second Life. It will be easier for us to do that starting from scratch in Project Sansar. So as you saw, we did this week push a few changes to reduce some of the costs. We're going to have to let that settle for a little bit. You're never really exactly sure what the reactions will be from the market with changes like this. So we want to be a little bit careful because, as stated here, we've made some mistakes in the distant past where the reaction to some changes were not necessarily totally positive. And we also have the challenge of not necessarily feeling that if we lower price by a certain percentage, will we make that up in volume so that we're roughly net revenue neutral on the changes we're making. and that's not completely clear either. How long would it take to recoup a reduction in land cost, or how do we recover from that? How long would it take for more users to buy that land to make up the difference? And that makes us a bit nervous to make significant drops in price, because we're running a pretty tight ship already.
And offering and offering more kinds of region, like Daniel suggests, for instance, selling half a region or quarter regions, or perhaps regions that are only online in weekends.
Yeah, we have looked at sort of introducing and are still having conversations about potentially introducing other types of land products with different configurations to try and find a place in the lineup that would be appealing to many. And we have to do quite a bit of analysis then and understand what impact will that have, what users will move from what they have to a new product, how many new users would have this product. So we have this conversation quite a bit, and we at least took this first step, and let that settle for a little bit, and we will continue to talk about ways we can do things to introduce new products or different pricing or more capacity, because in general we're in agreement, and we're just in this weird bind, because that's how the business model has settled, and tweaking the business model to shift income for us to other places is just a really complex endeavor. So yeah, we're going to keep working on it. I don't have anything to announce that a new type of product or a time frame, but we certainly will keep in mind, because the decline is not something that we want either. So there's lots of things we're trying to do to stem that, improving quality and performance, and a number of other initiatives, better acquisition of new users, et cetera, et cetera. But so we will, and we also want to try and understand over time what does it look like for someone who wants to, spend time in both Second Life and Sansar and develop or create on both platforms, and what can we do to, make that not a double whammy for people. So
make a nice package deal.
Yeah, that's things we've started to talk about as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Saffia.
Yes, I was going to say one comment I want to pick up on. Cube Republic has said make 14-day weeks. I must say that whenever the 48-hour days come on Amazon, I always snap them up before anyone else can get them. But let's go.
Yeah, and someone. Sorry. No, I heard that a while ago. I think it may have been before my time, or before I started paying attention anyway. There was a weekend when regions were free. There was no setup costs, just for a weekend. There's a special deal. And people have been asking when that is going to happen again, because that might get quite a few people interested.
Yeah, something to consider. I don't know if that's something the team is considering to do again anytime soon. So I would have to ask my team to know more about that.
So, coming to our second question. Our second question comes from Chinray, and it actually picks on something you mentioned, Ebbe, because it's about attracting newcomers to the grid. However, as Chinray says, it's not only about recruiting new users, though we need to keep them too. And there are plans for a brand new welcome area, but that's only a small part of the problem, Chinray says. The existing learning islands and social islands are actually really good. It's what happens after people leave there that's the real problem. So what can Linden Lab do to recruit and keep new users?
Yeah, so there's quite a few things we are continuously doing. You may have noticed that we are now doing more targeted ad campaigns against specific audiences instead of just treating everybody the same way. So we're trying to have more themed landing pages because a lot of people want to use Second Life for a lot of different reasons. So we're trying to figure out ways to be more precise in our targeting to different audiences. I'm sure you've also noticed that over the last year or 6 months or so, at least, we've done a lot more PR. We've been trying to be in front of press as much as possible, and which is an opportunity right now because the press is really excited to talk about VR, and we make sure that the press is aware that this is the biggest, most successful virtual world ever created. So while you get excited about VR, you have to look at Second Life as sort of the precursor to what's going to come, and you have to take it seriously and understand it before you can make assumption about what's going to happen next, and sort of make sure that they understand who we are and where we're coming from, and talking both about Second Life and Project Sansar. So we've gotten quite a bit of PR lately. We've also improved our emails that you get when you sign up and making those more specifically targeted so that because we have quite a bit of drop-off of people that they register, they may even download the viewer, but then they don't log in. So what can we do to help them get to the next step of logging in? So we have a more tailored sort of event-driven email series that happen after your registration to help bump people in. So we've been able to move conversion rates from all the way from the ad campaign through the click, through the registration, through the download, to the sign-in. We've been bumping up conversion rates along that funnel, small steps, which helps because it reduces the cost of our campaigns. But there's more to do that. We're also working on a project to better be able to track what users, how they behave once they're inside, after, so we can understand from the click where we purchased the user all the way today, we sort of kind of lose a little bit of understanding what happens to that user after they log into the client. And so in order to understand what the value of that user is, we need to do a better tracking further into the client. So that's a project we are working on. As you mentioned, we are working to again modify and modernize our welcoming island and learning island with more instrumentation in place, so you can have a better understanding of what works and what doesn't work, and more quickly iterate on the experience to further improve it. We did a bunch of testing with a number of welcoming islands created by the communities in Second Life. Unfortunately, none of them outperformed our Linden Lab versions, but it was good to get that tested at least. And if someone has something they think is brilliant, let us know. We can do more testing, but so far, nothing has been able to beat our own learning and welcome islands. And then something I've spoken about, we're thinking differently in Sansar about making it a lot easier for creators of experiences to attract their own audience. And part of the problem for us is that there's such an incredible variety of experiences in Second Life and in the future in Sansar as well, that it's almost impossible for us to acquire users for all these different types of experiences. It's just there's too much languages and subject matter that we can't necessarily relate to them all, whereas the creators of these experiences know very well what type of audience would be attracted to these experiences. So we want to make it a lot easier for creators to be able to track their own audience. And one project we're working on, and will hopefully come out soon, is to what we call to straighten out the slurs. Today, if you want to acquire your own users and put a slur out in the web somewhere to try and get someone to come to your experience as a creator, the chance of that user ending up in your experience is not great because they can get lost in the flow of registrations and downloads, and they never end up where you hope they end up. Or not always. So that's something we're working on hard to fix, and that will make it more powerful and easier for users and residents and creators to bring people in from the outside world and put a little bit of power control in your hands, rather than it just being completely up to us to bring users to the table. So those are things that we're working on. We do a lot of A/B testing. We continually test various tweaks, whether it's in ad campaigns, landing pages, and various parts of the flow. And yes, to the question also that, yeah, once they come in and they're sort of know what's going on, now where do they go? And this is going to always be a challenge because it's not that easy to understand what the interest of each of and every one of these users are. Some want to go listen to music, some wants to go experience some art, some want to join a community, but what kind of community? Some want to play a game.
Yeah.
So how to match up every individual's potential interests with what we have to offer inside of Second Life is kind of an interesting, complex problem. So, but I think we can do better there as well. And I think with the new Welcome and Learning Islands, we can hopefully do a better job of sort of funneling people to things that are the most likely to be of interest to people. So, lots going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, getting those new visitors to find their first place that they actually love and like, I think that is the most important thing, because once you find something, you could be addicted forever. We got a third question, which we've sort of already talked about, but I'll ask it anyway. Cool Mum says that recently the Firestorm people announced the opening of their community gateway and stated it was part of Linden Lab's community gateway revival. Yet there has been no official or formal word from Linden Lab that this in fact is true. Her question is Linden Lab bringing back community gateways? And if so, why haven't they announced it yet? And when will they announce it? Who will be allowed to participate? And in short, she would like to know more about this gateway program.
Yeah, so the gateway program is of significant interest to us because, again, to what I said earlier, we want to make it possible for creators to attract their own audiences. We are in the testing phase. A lot has changed. Laws and all kinds of things have changed since we had gateways way back in the day. And it comes to who can collect what information and what information can be stored where. So we have to get those pieces right. So we are, the team's been working on it for quite a while, and we're going to also make some improvements to the API so that we can have a more, a better experience as part of the gateway program. As far as who can, I mean, obviously we want to work first with people that are likely to be able to bring in, meaningful numbers of audiences. I mean, there's no point in us having to manage, thousands of gateway programs that each bring in one user a week. So we want to, clearly work with people that are have the capacity and the know-how of being able to attract, meaningful numbers of users. So we are testing with a few, including the Firestorm team. So I don't know exactly when we think we can sort of say that we're out of the test phase. I think there's some improvements to the API now that are coming so close. And we got caught up in some, like I said, some things we had to change to make sure that information was collected properly to keep users' information safe. But it should be around the corner. So hopefully in the next couple of months we will be able to expand the program, and clearly first come first serve will not first come first serve. The people that can explain to us why they're likely to be able to attract large numbers will probably be the ones we prioritize first. And I don't know how easy it will be us for scale this program to, is it something we can let almost anyone do, or I don't know how much overhead it is for us to manage these on a per per each case. So hopefully it's fairly scalable and we can let a lot of people do this. Ultimately, this is not only interesting for us for Second Life, it's also interesting for us to learn a lot here, because this is the approach we want to take from the beginning with regards to Project Sansar, where from day one we want to make it very easy for creators of experiences to immediately start attracting their own audience directly into their experience, with that, the expectation of having people like Second Life have to come in through the front door and then be routed to various experiences.
I'd like to say I'm delighted to see that the gateways are coming back, though, because it's always a program I thought was a really good way of keeping people. It gave them some of those gateways got people involved in communities really quickly.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good way of keeping people, I think.
Yeah, and for some markets, like, we've had a lot of success with users from Brazil, and that was almost entirely due to a partner there having a very successful gateway program. And, you had local people that could attract a local audience in local language, much better than we could do from here. So yeah, we definitely believe in it and want to roll it out as quickly as we can. It's not just a feature, it's actually a way of thinking how this should be done to get to complete scale. It's, like I said, how we think about Project Sansar from day one.
Excellent.
Something else that's great, which before I get to the next question, I just want to say, is the new avatars. I think they're really super, the new range, and I noticed that you're wearing one yourself.
Yeah, I picked this one this morning. I only reduced the size of my hands a little bit. They looked a little big to me to start with, but otherwise I changed nothing. So this is I'm a noob default avatar right here, right now.
And even more important, that suit is perfectly suitable for 1920s Berlin.
Oh, finally I can visit you and not feel like a stranger from the future.
Yeah, we can stop pointing and giggling at you.
Okay, now there's been a recent opening of the new marketplace beta, and that's caused quite a lot of concern among content creators who feel, for example, that the new way of ordering things means that the products they've paid to have well placed or are very popular sellers are becoming lost. Chin Ray again asks, what plans do Linden Lab have for upgrading, replacing the existing marketplace, and when can we expect to see the results?
Well, we're rolling out a beta now, and we're starting to get feedback, and so we want to collect more feedback on some of the improvements we're trying to make in the relevance of search. It will take a while for us to get it tuned to the point where we can clearly see that it's better than what we currently have in production. So that's going to happen. As soon as we find that the beta is outperforming the current production product, we'll swap it over. And I don't know how long it will take us to test and tune and make sure that it is an improvement. And otherwise, let's see.
Can I ask, what's the best way for people to feed back to you on this one?
Well, I'm hoping that the people that are rolling out the beta have been asking how to provide feedback on that. And if that's not clear, then I'll ask Pete to work with the team to make sure that it is clear to people. So I'm not sure how they asked to receive the feedback in the first place.
Okay.
And I don't want to confuse anyone by suggesting where they should go. So I'll let the team make sure that they reiterate how the feedback should be collected or provided.
That's great. Thank you.
But the new search engine we're using underneath in this beta will help us make it easy for us to keep tuning it and improve relevance. it'll also help us better scale and add new categories. And we just finally completed the deprecation of the X3 technology, which was quite scary because there was a bunch of stuff in there that no one here knew anything about. So not having a dependency on that anymore actually makes us feel a lot safer. Like I said, the beta is a beta, so I saw some people complaining about it not being as good as it should be. Well, that's why it's a beta.
That's why it's a beta, yes.
Yeah, so please keep providing feedback, and the more precise your feedback of what your expectation were and what didn't work, the easier it is for us to take your feedback and improve the product.
Yeah, so in short, keep complaining.
Yes, and
Constructive.
But polite. Yeah. Exactly.
precise feedback, that's what's going to help. Okay, and Xiola has just put in the forum thread into chat.
Perfect.
So that's where to put your feedback. What we'll do is we'll also put it on the lab chat website so that people can see it.
Excellent. So I'm not going to be hold back any longer. I want to know about Sansar. Everyone's talking about it, and Linden Lab's being very sneaky, but only giving us very little glimpses of what's happening there, which only makes us even more excited and nervous and curious. But let's let the public ask the questions. So I'll keep my mouth shut, and I'll just go to Kwi Nyangao. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrongly, but Second Life names, what can you do? Key wants to know how the lab organization will be structured to keep Second Life and Sansar from sabotaging each other's success.
Well, I'm not sure why we would try and sabotage ourselves in the first place, but there are two very separate teams from product. And design and engineering are two completely separate teams that, they at some point they meet up in the organization higher up, but they are working very independently today. And there's some pieces that the two products will share. Clearly, we don't want to have to replicate sort of the whole, virtual economy pieces and all the compliance work that goes with that. So that is something that we're trying to make sure we only do once, and that will be a service that both Second Life and Sansar will leverage. But other than that, the teams are free to work completely independently on what they think is best for them and their users every day. So there is.
Sorry, but of course, if Sansar opens up and is offering much cheaper land, and everyone is running to Sansar, there is automatically Second Life will suffer. And
yes, so this is the cannibalization effect is obviously real, and all I can say to that it's better that it's us than someone else. Because it's going to be someone someday. And so we've just said it has to be us. It is a complex thing, and we want to make sure that we make it easy for users. Because in the beginning, Sansar might look all shiny and whatnot, but it's not going to have the level of complexity and sophistication of Second Life that's been developed for almost 15 years now. It will take a while for a lot of the things that you all love and do in Second Life to be able to be something that you could completely do in Sansar.
Lab chat? Lab chat.